At the foot of the mountains is Rhayader, bang in the centre of Wales, a crossroads between the south and the north. It's a small market town that derives its character and much of its income from its proximity to the mountains. For the town's population to remain steady and for young people to find work here, the attraction to visitors of outdoor pursuits is vital. And the visitors come here to see something very special. There's no shortage of rainfall up here. On average, it is said to rain for about 250 days a year. Mountain rivers feed into a vast system of man-made lakes. The lakes are forever changing their levels and their appearance with the seasons. In the summer, the water level can be very low indeed. But this is early springtime. In these conditions, visitors wisely stay well within the visitors' centre. There is a whole system of dams reaching up the Ellen Valley. Each has its own powerful Victorian design and character. The dams were built in the late 19th century to provide water for Birmingham, 70-odd miles away, and South Wales. Millions of people depend upon this supply of high-quality water, which reaches the reservoirs through a system of pipes entirely through gravity. For this to happen, a whole Radnorshire village was submerged, and the inhabitants, not without protest, rehoused. Even the village's dead were disinterred and reburied elsewhere. As a conciliatory gesture, Birmingham Corporation built a new church. It still holds services once a month. The church is immaculately maintained, and the windows nicely reflect a feeling for the region's local character. Farming, water management and tourism are the principal industries up here, and balancing the demands of the three is a challenge. Many thousands of acres in the Cambrian Mountains are under the control of the Ellen Valley Trust.
Well, the trust was established when the water industry was privatised in 1989. And our objectives are, very briefly, conservation, access and recreation across the estate. The right to roam has existed on the Ellen estate since 1892, when Birmingham Corporation built the dams, and they gave the public a right of access over 42,000 acres of land, which was very visionary.
It is hard to believe that this is not a better recognised region of Wales, its beauty confirmed by designation as a national park.
I think it's a disgrace that it isn't. There are all sorts of other designations protecting nature on the estate. It's a special area of conservation, it's a special protection area and so on. But nobody has really thought about the landscape of the Cambrian Mountains as a whole. They should have been designated as a national park in the 1970s, but the politicians backed off.
There is a growing feeling that the Cambrian Mountains should at least be officially designated an area of outstanding natural beauty.
Gower was the very first AONB to be designated in the UK, and our feeling is that that designation should now extend to a much wider area of the Cambrian Mountains. We feel that it should be protected in the interests of the nation as a whole.
High above the Allen Valley, the wind turbines have arrived and are spreading.
The threat of wind farm development around the estate is something which would, I think, ruin the landscape. We fully understand the need for renewable energy, and in all the dams in the Iolo there are hydroelectric turbines at the moment. But there is a price that we think is too high to pay to sacrifice the landscape that we're there to protect.
But can the turbines be justified if they put money in the way of hard-pressed farmers?
Well, as far as the wind farms are going, I suppose it's an alternative money for the farmers. It might be an eyesore for the countryside, but you know, it's a big income to farmers who have them on their land. So,
wind turbines, yes, I think that's another mistake, which the folly of it will be seen in years to come, I'm sure.
Farming may look like a romantic occupation, but the economic pressures and realities are very real. Are things worse now than they were, say, 10 years ago?
Oh yes, a lot worse now. We're having less for our lambs now than what we was 10 years ago. And the price of everything else, the fuel and everything else has rocketed.
I am concerned about the biggest industry in this area, and that is the farming industry. If we go to the year 2001, 2002, the average farm profit then for farms in the Cambrian Mountains was just over £3,000. And that is no money on which to live on today, as you realise. Since then, profits probably have fluctuated, as they do in farming, but I guess they would still be under £10,000 per annum on average. So we still have a crisis there, I think, in that we could be losing the Welsh culture, the Welsh language, and of course a lot of the surrounding villages and towns rely on farming for their income. And also it also goes on to the local shops, churches, chapels, schools, post offices, you name it. It has a knock-on effect. It's quite serious, really, and it's been an ongoing situation for a number of years now, because I'm sure we've already lost one generation of farmers, and I feel we're about to lose another.
So what are the activities and initiatives that could preserve agriculture in the Cambrian Mountains? What about sensitively directed subsidies?
The European Union is looking for ways of reducing subsidies and for finding ways of supporting farming, but in a way which is justified by what farming contributes to society as a whole. And the difficulty in some areas is that it's hard to find that. In the Cambrian Mountains, with a little bit of reorganisation, the subsidies could continue, provided that they were focused on things which society wants. What society wants is landscape, and that depends partly on the way that farmers graze the landscape that we've got here. Society wants protection against floods, and farming can be changed in a way which involves less drainage, so that water will not so quickly run down the rivers. Global warming raises problems in relation to carbon,